An example here. Sources are defined in terms of how you use them. The works of Terry Eagleton, for example, will be a secondary source if used to explain the works of some other writer like Shakespeare. That means if it gives you an access to some other thing, that is a secondary source. If you are using your source in that way. For example, you are using Terry Eagleton not to talk about Terry Eagleton, but what he said about Shakespeare. It's about something. A secondary source is about something existing prior to the secondary source. It is like the parent. The father is the primary source, the son talking about the father. Yeah, like that. And the primary source is a text. If I'm going to explore the writings of Terry Eagleton, then works of Terry Eagleton will be my primary source. Okay? So how you are using your sources, that will decide if those sources are primary or secondary. Okay? I have a question at the end of this session that will problematize your idea of primary and secondary sources. Okay? This is the most important thing, please. I think if I had to talk and I had to choose, if I had to choose one topic to talk about, I would have chosen this one. What things you should incorporate? What things should you use as secondary material in your article? And what are the criteria? Yeah? So, if you remember this phrase, it's an abbreviation, acronym, Haque. This is the test. If you follow them one by one, you know that your source is reliable. First question is purpose. If you are looking at a secondary source, ask the question, what is the purpose of this book? Entertain? Yeah? Spread some propaganda? Yeah? Because you must decide that this is a is a reliable source. Yeah? So why a book is written? A book is not just written for no reason. There is an agenda behind writing this book, any book in the world. Yeah? So books are not innocent things. They are dangerous weapons. Write a satanic verses and you might be killed. Books are very dangerous things. Yeah? Okay. So, what is the purpose? Why it was written? Pure entertainment? Give new insights? Yeah? To publish something recently found? Yeah? Etc. Then authority. Who is the author? Me talking about cancer, would it be a reliable information? If I talk about cancer here, you would say, hey Mr. Haque, what authority you have got to talk about cancer? You are not a medical professional. I know you know a little about literature. How come you're talking about cancer? Because my authority here is suspect. You don't trust me. I'm not the right person to talk about cancer here. In the same way, a cancer specialist talking here about Shakespeare, possibly we won't invite anyone like that. They could be our chief guest, they could be our special guest, and if they pay a huge donation, we can give them a lot of things, but not as a speaker. Yeah? So authority is very important. Relevance. A book on how to grow paddy, what use will it be for an article on Shakespeare? How to grow paddy. And talking about female characters in Shakespeare, how are they relevant to each other? They are not at all. Unless you are talking about people in Shakespeare's plays who do agriculture. And then it would be like writing an essay, a journey by boat, but you just memorize journey by train. So you have to get the passenger out from the train, put the passenger onto the boat, and you start writing a journey by boat. Yeah, sometimes the students do that, and they're very smart people. Yeah, you're all familiar with this kind of things, yeah? Relevance is important. Then currency. Make sure that your secondary source is not more than 30-year-old. If it's more than 30-year-old, it is from a past generation. It's from the generation of your parents. Yeah? And in 30 years, many things change, especially in a technological advanced culture like us, like ours. Things move so rapidly that today's knowledge becomes irrelevant 10 years later. Yeah? So make sure that your literature, your secondary sources are updated. Okay? Hope it's not mine. Yes, please. Hold on. I knew this question will come, yes. If you are writing about Shakespeare, A.C. Bradley, 100 years old, possibly you cannot just ignore him. So there are words. For example, maybe even after 100 years, Foucault and Derrida would remain relevant. Because there are a few people who revolutionize our thinking, and you cannot really ignore them. We cannot really ignore Darwin if we talk about science, even after 500 years. Yeah? So these debates will remain. Yeah.
Do you think it's relevant to talk about those sources if they're not needed for
No.
particular
Of
topic?
course, yeah, they're not. Yeah, but
You can always avoid those.
of course, yeah. Of course, yeah. So this is a general cutting point that if it's 30 years old, better move forward. If you're writing an article on an author who published in 2020, your limit is to go back 1990, not beyond that point. But if there is some work, like Meenakshi Mukherjee, if you are working on Indian literature in English, Meenakshi Mukherjee is inevitable. Yeah? So there are works like that. Thank you, Nagara. Thank you for the correction. Okay, so, and then the accuracy. If things are published in peer-reviewed journals, you can rest assured that the information is accurate. Yeah, because by doing the peer review, an article going through peer reviews, it means it has gone through a few screening by very learned, educated, knowledgeable people in the field. So they have checked that this is all right. That's why peer reviewing is so important. Yeah? You can get published anywhere, but no. There are a few things that you must take into consideration before you start getting published. Yeah. Okay, so keep this acronym: PACA test, purpose, authority, relevance, currency, and accuracy. So these are the 5 things you check whenever you are going to use a secondary source in your writing. This is the recapping. As I said, I will answer a few questions towards the end of my presentation. So this is what it is. We started with just the ideas, Shakespeare, female characters, representation, etc. Then we turned it into a topic, a viable, not viable, working topic, the representation of female characters in Shakespeare. From there we moved on to a working question, simple layman's question. How does Shakespeare represent female characters? Still it's broad enough. Research question, how does Shakespeare represent female characters? And look, I have narrowed down the focus because you cannot really cover in an article 34 plays by Shakespeare. That would be an impossible task. Yeah? Even if you write one paragraph for each play, it would be 34 paragraphs, which is far more than the standard length of a research article. Yeah? So narrow down, as I have narrowed down here, it is dark comedies. Now you have 2, 3, or 4. Yeah? From there you move on to a thesis. Shakespeare's representation of female characters in his dark comedies now. Feminist reading. This is the handle you gave your reader. Hold on to this. We are going along this way. Yep. These are the steps. And just a quick test. You can volunteer to answer these questions, or you might not. It's absolutely up to you. You are writing, suppose these are the three scenarios I've just put up here. You are writing an article on Macbeth. You can use Hamlet as a secondary source. Can you?
Yes.
Can you? What is the definition of a secondary source? It is about something. Is Hamlet about Macbeth? It could be a secondary source in a very spatialist way, in a very spatialized meaning. Yeah? Because these are two different plays and both are creative writings. Yeah? How can Hamlet or Macbeth be a secondary source to each other? Because it is not about something. Hamlet is not about Macbeth. Macbeth is not about Hamlet. They are two different plays. Yeah, so you have to cover both will be primary sources then. Of course, you can connect all the tragedies of Shakespeare, but they all will be primary sources. Until it is about. A secondary source is about a primary source. A Macbeth is not about Hamlet. Hamlet is not about Macbeth. There could be, please.
We are writing an article.
Yeah, move.
I mean, if you are writing an article, then it becomes very vague when you bring Macbeth as a secondary.
No, you can always expand. If you are writing something on Hamlet, you can always include King Lear, you can always include Othello, but still they will remain primary sources.
Yes.
You cannot cite them as your secondary sources. They are not. Because Hamlet is not about King Lear. It's not. Yeah? But in case of obvious intertextuality, that could be a problematic area. I'm not going into it. Okay? Then you can use your own article on Hamlet as a primary source in an article on King Lear. What do you think?
No, sir. No, sir. Definitely not, sir.
Can you use it as a primary source? Your article on King Lear, what it is, first of all?
Secondary.
Of course, it is a commentary on King Lear, so it is always a secondary source. Your article on King Lear could be a primary source if a researcher is working on you and on your writing. Yeah? Fakhrul sir's writing can be primary sources if my article is on Fakhrul sir's writings.
Yes.
Otherwise, they are always secondary sources. And you can use this presentation as a secondary source in an article on how to do research for a research article in literary studies. What do you think? Yeah. Because this is about how to edit, how to publish, how to begin research for a research article in the literary studies. Yeah. So it can always be used as a secondary source, but it can also be used as a primary source if you are focusing on me and whatever rubbish I have written so far. Okay? So with this note on rubbish, let me finish. Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
bearing
sir.
with me.